Now, some of my earlier videos, you've seen me make a banana wine and you've seen me make a strawberry wine. This video, we're going to be making a banana strawberry wine. Hi, I'm Charles and welcome to DIY Fermentation, your site for doing fermentation on a shoestring budget. Now, before I begin, I want to give a repeated special shout out to David Liebman and Claudia Bell. I gave them a shout out during the pair live stream, but because I couldn't get the text of their names to appear on screen, still working that out, I thought I'd give them another repeat shout out in this video. David, Claudia, thank you. Now, to make our strawberry wine, we are going to be using the following. We're going to be using 3 pounds of fresh strawberries. You can use frozen, doesn't matter, works either way. 3 pounds of ripe bananas. These still have a little greenish tinge on the skin. I wish I could let them sit a little longer, but I can't let that stop the show. Up to about 2 cups of sugar, enough to bring our AVB up to at least 1.080. Juice of half a lemon. Wine yeast. I'm using Premier Rouge, Red Star Premier Rouge for this particular batch. And I will probably be using a peptic enzyme on this one as well. If you don't have a peptic enzyme, don't worry about it. It just helps clear that pectin haze that occurs, especially when you're dealing with fruits like strawberries. A couple of straining bags, because we're going to be using bags this time around with fresh fruit. Again, up to about 1 gallon of water, a wide mouth fermenter, something that's got a good wide mouth where you can put in your straining bags and, more importantly, take them out. You're going to be needing a secondary fermenter, cardboard, jug, demijohn, take your pick, airlock with stopper. I'm going to be using a hydrometer. And before I do anything else, everything is going to be sanitized in my method of choice, currently using Star San. And that's what I'm going to be using to make this wine. Now, since we're using fresh fruit, one of the first things we need to do is that we need to either wash or rinse these berries off. And you can either rinse them now or you can remove the foliage first. To do it, I think I'm going to remove the foliage from the onset, and while I'm at it, some of the stem portions of it, and then I'm going to rinse them, and then I'm going to chop them up. All right. That is that. Now what I need to do is give these berries a good rinse. Cold water. And go ahead and start chopping these up into quarters is good enough, because at the end of primary fermentation, you really are going to end up with just a pulpy mass that will in no way resemble a strawberry or later on these bananas. So again, you can just go ahead and just roughly cut them in quarters. However you want to do it is fine. All right, good enough. Now all I need to do, start work on the bananas. Now with the bananas, there are a couple of ways that you can go with this. If you're not planning on using the skins, then you can go ahead and peel your bananas, slice them up, and get them ready for the straining bag. If you are going to use the skins, again, a couple of ways you can do it. One, you can either peel the bananas, slice them up, and then put the peel in with the straining bag, or you can do what I'm going to do, and that's simply slice them up, skins on. Actually, you'll find out that it's easier to slice that way. But before I do any of that, what I want to do, since I'm going to be using the skins, is to go ahead and give the bananas a good rinse. Now again, with your bananas, I mean, the riper, the better. If you got brown speckles, I mean, that's perfectly fine. These, I wish I could have let aged a little bit longer, but I'm running out of time and I can't do it. So again, the riper the banana, the sweeter the banana, the less sugar you're gonna have to add to the final mix to get your gravity reading up to where you want it. So let's go ahead and give these bananas a good rinse. All right, next thing is to do the slicing. And I think I'm going to use, which knife? This one. All right, let's go ahead and grab a banana. And I generally will tend to slice off the ends, as not being necessary to the process. And just go ahead and slice them up. Oh, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch. Should do it. Now, along the way, if you should happen to see some yucky parts intruding on your banana, just go ahead and just cut those away. I mean, this is your wine, and you want the best ingredients you can possibly put in it. So, that having been said, that's one. Hope all this is going to fit in the straining bags, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap and finish up the rest of the bananas, and then we'll press on. All right, I think that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and add those to our bowl. Don't need this anymore. All right, what we want to do next is we want to, since we are not using Camden tablets, I'm going to use the boil water method. So I'm going to go ahead and take that 1 gallon of water that we set aside. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up to a boil. And while that's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and begin putting the fruit into my straining bags. And that process is going to look a whole lot like this. I mean, yeah, I could just use my hand and scoop them all in there, but I'm not. I probably will in the end, but just go ahead and get your berries in the bags. All right, I had 3 1 gallon straining bags, and I've got enough room to tie them all off. So 3 pounds of fruit, 6 pounds of fruit fits just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and tie these off, and I'm still waiting on my water to do its thing. All right, with our water, which by the way is filtered water, but you could use your water of choice as long as it's clean. It's come to a boil. We're just going to go ahead and turn off the heat and start putting in our fruits. I mean, we really don't want to cook the fruit. We just want to try and kill off as much stray yeast, wild yeast, and as much any harmful bacteria as we possibly can. Also, if we proceed to cook the fruit, we're just going to increase the amount of pectin that we're gonna have, and we really don't need that. So all we need to do at this point is just let it come down to room temperature. Okay, now that our banana strawberry mixture has come to room temperature, we're going to go ahead and put this in our primary fermenter. Starting with the bags of fruit. This is not going to be pretty, but it is going to go in there. And the easy part of trying to pour this in without pouring it all over the place. All right. Now with that being done, all I need to do, well, a couple of things. If you are using a peptic enzyme, this would be the time to do it. Or Camden tablets, again, this would have been the time to do it. Since I'm only going to be using pectic enzyme, it's only because I don't want to wait forever for the pectic haze to clear up. Again, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. Time will be on your side. I'm just going to go ahead and add my enzyme. It's the only cheat that I have for not being as natural as I can get it. And let's go ahead and give that a little swirl to incorporate. And while we're at it, this would be a good time to put in the juice of our half a lemon. All right, and the lemon juice, of course, is acting as our acid blend substitute to give our wine a little bit of acidity. If you're heavy into tannins, you can add tannin powder or the tea bag method that you've seen me use in some of my earlier videos. Or you can simply add oak chips later on during secondary fermentation. But it takes 12 hours for the peptic enzyme to do its little thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put it on the counter in the meantime, but I'm going to go ahead and give it its 12 hours, and then we're going to add the magic ingredient to turn our banana strawberry juice into wine. Now, I haven't forgot about the sugar. In fact, now would be a good time to go ahead and add the sugar. I could do it later, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now just to get that out the way. It also gives me a good opportunity to take a hydrometer reading. So let me get that process ready. Now, in case anybody is wondering, wouldn't it have been a good idea to add the sugar while everything was still on the stove, nice and hot, so the sugar could dissolve a whole lot more easily? Well, yeah, it would have been. But since I didn't do it, it's never too late to add it. Let's go ahead and get that incorporated in there. Okay. Let's go ahead and put our cap on. And quite honestly, for the next 12 hours, go ahead and put it aside, out of the way. Now, yeah, I'm probably going to stir it up a bit more than that, just to make sure I got all that sugar dissolved, just to be on the safe side. But basically, that's it. So back in 12, we'll go ahead and add our yeast and start the process of turning our juice into wine. All right, my first hydrometer reading came in at 1.042, which is a bit low for my taste. I wanted to get up to 1.080. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 additional cups of sugar. All right, now after the addition of 2 additional cups of sugar, I've got a hydrometer reading of, zoom this in, of 1.080, right where I want it. Not bad. So I'll make the changes in the ingredients list to make sure we have 4 cups of sugar, and you should be spot on. Okay, so enough time for the peptic enzyme. It's now time to go ahead and add our yeast. I'm going to do a couple of things. One, before I add the yeast, I want to go ahead and give our mixture a good stir. Good vigorous stir. I want to incorporate some additional oxygen in there to help the yeast out a bit. Mashing up some of these berries and bananas along the way. Now I'm going to add our 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. And normally I would just sprinkle it around, but because I got all these bags in the way, sprinkle it around as best I can. And normally that would be it, but rather than have all this yeast floating on top of the bags, I'm just going to go ahead and mix that in just a little bit. Again, at this stage, the more oxygen in your musk, the better. I'm going to go ahead and put our cap on. By the way, this fermenter does have built-in airlock, so I don't have to worry about anything building up pressure and exploding. And all we need to do now is to put on a label, which I've got one prepared already. Basically, it's just going to be banana, strawberry, the date that I started making it, and the original gravity reading. And I'll put that on in just a few moments. Now, for the first 3 days, take this off again. For the first three days at least, you want to go in and give your musk a good vigorous stir. You want to give your yeast a little bit of a helping hand by putting in some more oxygen. After that, for the next few days, you want to go ahead and make sure that your fruit and he's not just simply floating on top and choking off the air supply. So you just want to move it around just a little bit. Usually after 5 days, I don't do that. I will just simply leave it alone, because after 5 days, 5 to 7 days, you're ready to move that into secondary, at which point in time, oxygen in your musk is not your friend, okay? So it's something you don't want to do. So there we go. Again, for the next 3 days, 3 to 5 days, go ahead and give it a vigorous stir. After 7 days, you're going to rack it into your secondary container, removing all of the fruit. And after that, every 6 weeks or so, you want to rack it again to get your wine off of the dead yeast or dead yeast that's sitting on the bottom to prevent it from giving any off flavors. You do that until a couple of times until your wine has gotten clear enough. Usually about 4 or 5 months, it should start getting to be clear. The longer you keep it in secondary, the better. But once your wine does finally get clear, then it's ready for degassing if necessary, and for bottling, all of which I've done videos on. Well, haven't done video on the degassing yet, but the racking process and the bottling process, all of that I've covered in earlier videos, so you can go ahead and check those out. So again, if you like what you see here, please click on the subscribe button. Help out becoming a member. Links, I'm an Amazon affiliate, so there will be links in the comment section if there's anything you want to just check out. And again, if there are any changes to the recipe, either now or 6 months from now when I do the 6-month tasting, you'll find the changes in the ingredient sections listed on the original video, which is this one. So again, see you for the next video.